Okay, so this is a matchup that I feel like I know pretty well. Uh, and I thought that there were some interesting ideas that Daigo had and some missed opportunities. I thought I might do a little bit of analysis on these matches. I don't know how many people are actually going to be interested in watching this. Um, but I've had some people request before that I do replay reviews of high level gameplay. And there's obviously some clear knowledge from both players in the matchup. So I thought we'd take a look here. So obviously Daigo, as we all know, favors the fireball heavy game plan, and you'll see him make a lot of use out of low forward drive rush in this game too. The throwing out of the H adamant flame here, right? This is just because Daigo's seen him press a lot of kind of little low commitment poke buttons, things like stand light punch, things like stand medium punch, things that are hard to whiff punish, but this is a pretty safe gamble because it's -2, and obviously if he catches the recovery of one of those things, then he just wins the round right there pretty much. So that's what that's about. Missed opportunity on the whiff punish for the crouch. Heavy punch on Blanka there, but he does get stand fierce confirm. One thing that I think Daigo really missed in these sets was whiff punish on crouch medium punch. He really didn't want to play footsies, and he wasn't looking to play footsies, which is maybe the right call because I think, crouch medium punch, if you block it from Blanka, he gets a lot like out of a drive rush because you can't DPOS his drive rush because he can hop and bait it. So you really don't want to block anything if you can help it, except maybe lights because then the drive rush is just not as damaging. So here we see another drive rush out of the crouch medium kick. No confirm on the forward heavy punch. Does get the pickup here. And one other thing we see a lot in this set is so here we have a missed opportunity. A stand fierce would have caught the throw tech here, I think, after a backdash or maybe a crouch medium punch, crouch medium kick, something like that. Daigo will often miss whiff punishes and then he'll just go in for the throw. You see Daigo later in the set kind of abandon the throw game, in part because he's just afraid of up back ball. Another missed whiff punish there. Sweep is a good button to whiff punish that down heavy punch with. More throws, and he gets the light confirm. This was a common tactic by Mena here. Fireballs are just not that threatening in this game, and if you can just tap parry, and obviously if you actually get the perfect parry, then you get a punish. So it's really difficult to be consistent with fireballs. Let me go back here because this is significant too. So this is obviously something that Daigo has studied. After a couple lights here, he goes for a fierce. The fierce I don't think was meant to catch the drive rush. I think he just kind of got lucky. But you'll see Daigo use fierce in that same spot a few other times. So that's obviously some preparation there. I think stand medium kick is actually a more damaging route here than stand medium punch, but maybe he just needed more time to confirm. So this is all plus. Blanka's plus. I love this by Daigo right here. So Daigo is going to pump the super. Mena is sort of thinking of whether or not Daigo can actually react to that. He's faking pumping the super, and then he just does a neutral jump for the win, right? So Mena decides that it's worth taking the super, but he doesn't actually use super. So I think that's pretty creative by Daigo. Active frames on the back medium kick. Back medium kick, a very strong button from Blanka. In neutral, in part because it swings high, so it's hard to whiff punish, and it's quite active. So people can kind of walk into it. See, this is the stuff that deters him. So he's now back in the corner for having gone for a throw. The throw is the lowest commitment option in Street Fighter 6 in offense, typically. It's a really safe option against most of the cast because at worst they sort of throw tech or maybe they backdash and it's a minor punish. But there's a few characters, Cammy's one of them, Blanka's one of them, Chun-Li is one of them, who can really blow up throw attempts. And I think of those characters, it's clear that Blanka is the strongest. So that's a real advantage that Blanka has in the game. I should say, too, that my experience of this matchup is that it's Akuma favored. I think Akuma fights Blanka really well. obviously, he can get the perfect parries on the fireballs, but they're hard fireballs to deal with. And Blanka has traditionally struggled against fireballs because, he's a charge character. He does the Blanka ball, there's the rainbow ball. And then, Blanka, he's unorthodox. His buttons are slow. They're big, but they're slow. And so that gives Akuma really the opportunity to abuse his move speed and abuse his fireballs, which are his two sort of among his strongest assets. So I think that the matchup favors Akuma with one exception, and we'll talk about that when it comes up, but it's going to be level 2. Blanka's level 2. A lot of fireballs from Daigo here. Really reluctant to play footsies is Daigo. He's trying to get Mena to jump. He does succeed in doing that, but he wasn't ready. He decided to go for the crouch medium kick in that moment. So here's the first level 2. Now, level 2 from Blanka is really difficult because even if you play correctly, like you guess correctly, and it's not easy, you have like a 1/4 shot of guessing correctly. If we just take away risk reward, you escape and you maybe take a little bit of drive damage. Like the thing that's so scary about Blanka's level 2, or one of the things that's so scary about Blanka's level 2, is that he can just do it off of like a random ball or off of really anything and turn it into a plus situation. And so then you take like a bar and a half before you even get your first guess if you're just blocking. So you'll see that obviously Daigo has prepared for the various level 2 setups, and he actually escapes from a lot of them, but the damage is done, right? A lot of the time. So like this is like, this is guess for game here with the Blanka Chandal because of the way that it happened. So he does an empty jump and Daigo mashes out. That's the correct guess, so Daigo gets to live. Trade on Blanka ball. Once he's in level 2, it's really hard to interrupt the Blanka ball. Nice jab, but no confirm. No punishment. Forward heavy punch might have been able to reach there on the throw tech. Faking fireballs. Classic Daigo. Classic Street Fighter game plan. You can really see, yeah, so that's pretty good. He tried to go for slide there, and then perfect spacing by Daigo. So Daigo obviously believes in fireballs in the matchup, which is impressive because obviously there's perfect parry, there's jump, and then there's Blanka slide. So Daigo has obviously prepared the various ranges, and his fireball game is maybe the best of any Akuma. It's just difficult because in Street Fighter 6, fireballs just aren't that threatening. There's no way to kind of convert the fireballs. Good whiff punish by Mena. Mena recognizes that there's a pattern of fireballs and then walk forward, crouch medium kick, and so he moves himself back to get that whiff punish. This is a common thing that Mena gets hit with in plus frame situations. Mena likes to mash, and you'll see that Mena gets hit by this, this medium punch TC all the time. Also, Daigo, those of you that are newer to the matchup and not aware, Blanka is a heavy character, big character. Yeah. Actually, that should have been a punish counter because he was close enough to get the punish counter. Daigo was just late on the sweep. This should be a punish counter. You can actually do forward fierce as well. You can do light Tatsu into heavy Tatsu on Blanka, even mid-screen. This is a change that Thunder has suggested should be true for every character, and I kind of think that he's onto something there. He's kind of cooking. I don't see why we shouldn't get that, since it doesn't give the best Oki. Daigo also prepares with the dive kick. The problem with dive kick, dive kick's strong. Obviously, if Blanka has charge, then you can't go into the air at all because air ball will catch you even all the way across the screen if you try to do air fireball and stuff like that. But Daigo's a professional. He knows when Mena has charge, and Mena doesn't like to just sit down back with charge. So Daigo tries to take advantage of that with the jumping medium kick, dive kick. The problem with jumping medium kick, dive kick, as you'll see later in the set, is that it's really particular in its angle. And the counterplay is actually not to delay your air button or even to air, but just to walk out of the range and then punish him on landing because it's got quite a bit of recovery. Unlike older games where dive kicks recovered quite quickly. Like if you watch Third Strike or Street Fighter 4, you'll see people dive kicking all the time and they just land and it's fine. It's no problem. Interestingly, after a drive rush heavy punch or heavy kick from Blanka, I think he's +0 because that move is normally -4. This is another very strong feature. So here we have another level 2, obviously. So, Daigo's on the back foot. But Blanka gets throw loops mid-screen because of hop. So this is another really scary thing about Blanka. They're a well-timed crouch medium kick. into drive rush. So obviously this is all Mena stuff. Mena's good at this. Daigo decides to just throw out the reversal. No punish on that. It's pretty hard to punish. Active for I think 8 or 9 frames. See the buffer there. Nice. See that's the move speed I'm talking about. Blanka's stand heavy kick is active for like 8 or 9 frames. I think it's really active and it doesn't recover for very long. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier about the dive kick. So here we see Daigo try to go for the same strategy. It's kind of Hail Mary now because he's burnt out and he needs to land a level 3, and Mena just walks out of it. So Mena's doing a lot of like baiting of whiff punish buttons, but Daigo isn't looking to play that game. So Daigo goes for the meaty there, but it's a delayed meaty, right? So the meaty here is meant to catch up back ball. You'll see Punk do this a lot against Mena too, because people are just afraid to throw. But he does a sort of like little walk back into the medium punch, and both of those options obviously lose to up back ball. I don't know what the sweep is. I think the sweep is an attempt to catch forward movement after the perfect parry. Pretty risky. Daigo doesn't go for a lot of parries on the Blanka balls. You should try to parry those. A parry of any Blanka ball is a punish because you just drive rush in on any character, I believe. Except maybe Zengi for some of the big bodies. You should try to get the perfect parry. Now, the scary thing about the perfect parry, let me just go back. This is sort of information about the matchup in general. The scary thing is Blanka can fake it. He can do the light ball, right? And then the parry, you'll just parry in front of him, and then he throws you. And at best, you drive rush, and you just get a counter hit throw instead of punish counter throw. But you can actually sort of like do a delay jab, and then sort of buffer a parry behind that very quickly. And if they do the light ball, you'll get your jab. Your jab will come out because you're not in block stun. So that's one way to avoid that, and just learning the ranges where you can do that, the light one, and it does have a speed difference. You can kind of watch for it. Daigo does make a good use of the air fireball a couple times. Daigo has taken a different approach to this matchup than I usually do. Usually I like to go and fight. I like to play footsies with Blanka. I'm not that afraid. I mean, I know that he's got the drive rush out of crouch medium punch, but we're fast, so we can kind of move in and out of those ranges. It's just not the way that Daigo wants to play. But to his credit, Daigo does walk Mena to the corner. That I think was a punish counter opportunity. I think he was close enough. Good check. Stand medium kick's a tough button to check with because it's 7 frames, but it's very active. Okay, we got level 2 right out of the gate. Guess, yeah. Guess again. Okay, he got out. That's good, but he's got a punish here. Here comes Blanka-chan. You have to hold all this. See, this is all still kind of like, until now, until this moment, all of that was the result of Lightning Beast. Blanka's level 2. So mid-screen, Mena will not throw tech. He just never does. You'll never see him do it. He'll backdash. He'll do anything but throw tech. And what he does here is the correct choice against Akuma in the matchup, and I think in general against Akuma, take the throw. We just don't have a strong post-throw option. Of course, Daigo knows the spacing on the sweep there, so he gets it. Mena risked it there. I mean, Daigo could have done a drive rush early button, and but I don't know that Daigo would have wanted to cash out to kill. I guess he would have, because he would have level 3. So Mena risked it. That's fine. I think Mena wins the next 5 games from memory. So we got more Lightning Beast here, level 2. So all the way to the corner, and Blanka-chan. And all of this, like, so now Daigo has the opportunity to guess, finally. Okay, he gets clipped low. Another Blanka-chan. But that's what I mean about level 2. Once it's activated, if you're in a combo, you get to guess after the combo when you're in the corner. If it's not a combo, if it's just a block, he gets to burn a bunch of your drive, and then you get your first opportunity to guess. Good drive rush. Daigo obviously very good at the fireball game. Doesn't react to the perfect parry with a throw. I think what he's afraid of here is that Mena is going to drive rush out of the perfect parry, drive rush OS. And so that's what the fierce is. He's trying to catch him with that. Good crosscut. tried to space it there, very nearly did. I think that was like, I'm not sure if either of them knew how that was going to play out. We're talking about pixels, I think, on that Blanka slide. You know, it's interesting. Before this, people were saying, well, Mena 3-0s him in tournament all the time. I went back and watched the 3-0 in Street Fighter League, and it's one of those situations where people joke about it. It was a 3-0, but it was close. Like, Daigo did not look too asleep in the matchup. So I actually had more faith than others, even before the Daigo hype video, that he would do well here, or could do well here. And again, I'm of the belief that Akuma can fight Blanka. I think we do, I think in general we do sort of see a clash of styles here. Old school Street Fighter and old school games in general, you just didn't get the same kinds of reward off of stray hits that you do in modern fighting games. There was a lot, to get the big damage, you had to kind of earn your way in first, typically, and then get them with a big guess, a sort of fatter read. And in modern games, really nice delay there by Mena to get that flip. In modern games, offense is just much more overwhelming, right? Of course, in this game, any hit can be converted into drive rush, which leads to huge damage and huge corner carry. It's one of the big complaints, I think, about the game at a high level of play. You don't have to choose as you might have chosen. Really nice check by Daigo there. You don't have to choose as you might have chosen in previous Street Fighter games between corner carry, damage, and Oki. You simply get all three. And that has a couple effects. Obviously, it changes the strategy of the game. It increases the speed of matches, but it also reduces the amount of time that the players return to neutral. So insofar as a kind of slow, deliberate, push them to the corner fireball game is being played by Daigo here, that's really a staple of old Street Fighter. I mean, it's no joke. That's how the game was played. And the more you would return to neutral, the more it sort of favored the competitive player. In the same way that long sets favor the better player, and I do think the better player won in this set. Games where you return to neutral more frequently favor the better player too. And so that's something that people lament about, modern fighting games, is that they're just so explosive. Okay, let's skip through all this stuff. This is also a recap of what's happened. Good DP. Goes for the throw, risks it mid-screen, of course. So the risk reward is such mid-screen that, again, Blanka, he's never going to tech that. Another missed whiff punish opportunity by Daigo. These are easy whiff punishes, these big heavy buttons. Right, so the fact that Daigo didn't really do any whiff punishing but still came out on top, no confirm there. Obviously not a counter hit, so pretty hard, but didn't even go into the TC. So this is the this is the kind of, I think, strength of Daigo in a lot of ways in the long set, is reads. Like he's really good at, so how does Daigo win despite not having the kind of reactions and having missed opportunities on whiff punishes? And he's got this fabled neutral, but it's not neutral like how Punk has neutral. Like Punk has neutral in the sense that Punk's not gonna miss any of these whiff punishes. He's gonna out neutral you, and the way to beat Punk is to make the game crazy, like get into a kind of mind gamey, guessy mess. That's how people beat Punk. But with Daigo, he wins neutral too, but his way of winning neutral is more about reads. Yeah, like these kinds of callouts. Like what a crazy, risky thing to do, but it comes out on top because he just has a sense of like what he thinks the opponent is looking for and what they want to do. And that comes from, 30 years of playing fighting games and fighting all kinds of opponents. Missed heavy Tatsu there. Big loss because the Oki would have been better. He would have been in the corner and had, a frame kill into super plus frames. Here comes Lightning Beast. So the fact that Daigo is able to be as successful as he is in this set, to take the 6 games, I think is a byproduct of that talent that Daigo has, which is getting his opponents, with these kind of unorthodox strategies. I mean, if you ever watch any of the old first to tens that Daigo played, he sort of would come at them with unorthodox strategies and make them deal with things which on paper aren't correct, aren't the right, choices in terms of overall risk reward across a long set like this. But he just has such a good sense of opponents' rhythms and stuff like that. Another mistake from Daigo there. I don't know what that was supposed to be. Probably crouch, medium kick, drive rush, and he just got a Tatsu. So all these mistakes happen, right? And Mena doesn't make those kinds of mistakes. And one of the challenges for Daigo with the strategy that he has is that that's also kind of Mena, right? Mena obviously has, S tier neutral, S tier whiff punish, S tier, all that stuff. But Mena too is a player who's like sort of well known for getting in his opponent's head and tracking his opponent's fear. That again should have been a punish counter. So this is a big punish opportunity here. Probably should go into level 1. Yeah, he does. Okay, good. Gets the burnout. No whiff punish on the stand medium punch. Obviously, it's a pretty hard one to do. Yeah, good. No confirm. See, on the punish counter forward heavy punch, right? That's an additional 4 frames to confirm, and Daigo misses it. So Daigo really kind of comes out in these scrambles against a lot of players because he just does unorthodox things. Like jumping yourself into the corner when you're burned out is an unorthodox thing. And Mena wasn't really ready for it. The problem is that Mena is, damn, pop, Bonchan, get him. The problem is that Mena is so clutch, right? I mean, he's just Mena's a really seasoned player. And Daigo said before the start of this exhibition that probably Mena is the best Street Fighter 6 player. I think that's probably true. I think Mena's skill set obviously is good in all modern Street Fighter games, but in particular, I think Street Fighter 6 really, is a game that suits his particular style, and that's why we see such consistency from him. I say that, of course, obviously he can still lose a tournament set, but bold to walk forward, crouch medium kick there. Good. Daigo really knows the fireball game. You can't easily beat Daigo in that. More lightning beast. Anyway, Mena's not going to win every game because Street Fighter 6 is kind of an inherently, gamble-heavy game, and Mena has complained about it before. I think Mena's even tweeted things like, this game would be the best Street Fighter game if it didn't have, drive rush and drive rush cancel in it. So it's not like he's a big fan of the things that we're troubled by at least in the Western hemisphere. But I do think it suits him as a punish there. Good knowledge on the crouch fierce. Obviously, if you block a Blanka ball that's not the H ball, it's a punish every time you drive rush and you get a punish. The other thing is that, Mena is young and he's got really crisp reactions. So Daigo's just not going to hit him with the classic sort of ranked style of Street Fighter play, these random drive rush overheads and stuff. And that's the first drive rush overhead I think we see Daigo go for, and I can't recall him ever going for another one. So in part of his preparation, Daigo just abandons that. So this is what I was talking about Lightning Beast. I think this is a good example, right? Let's see. So he does EX ball, which is like impossible to parry at that speed, at that spacing. Lightning Beast. It's still his turn. Boosh, boosh. Okay, now that was the first opportunity that Daigo had to guess, and he's just lost a bunch of bar already, like from the beginning of the sequence. So Daigo has 2 bars, 1 bar, Lightning Beast. Basically no bar. And he hasn't had really the opportunity to do much of anything. Now he gets a guess, but it's a disfavorable guess every direction, right? He's side switched all the way into the corner, blocked everything, taken the least risky option, and he's in the corner. Now he's dead. So I'm not here to complain about Lightning Beast, but there's no doubt that the counterplay on that level 2 is a mess. It's a mess. And it's not the only level 2 in the game that's like that. And it's a really strong attribute for a Street Fighter 6 character to have a fucked up level 2. Oh yeah, the notes. It was interesting. I saw on Twitter, this may be of interest to people. Somebody translated one of Daigo's notes into the book. It says, this is a translation kind of through the AI or whatever, but it says, even if you enter a state of disheartenment, bear it without getting anxious. That's what it says. So a lot of Daigo's notes, a lot of these notes I think are like, it's about the mental game at this level because they know the matchup, they know what to do. It's about staying calm and collected under pressure. And they're both very good at that. I'm going to have to boogie through this because it's long. So we see this little break where they check the notes, and then this is the point where Mena is 5-0 and Daigo is down to has only the 2 games, and Daigo starts to bring it back. And in a post interview with Mena, Reinhardt asked him like what happened here, and what Mena said was Daigo just started reversaling a lot. Didn't want to take pressure, became more aggressive on defense. You saw in that last round in particular after the Lightning Beast. A rare slip up from Mena there, actually. So Daigo gets the win there. Particularly that Lightning Beast, that Daigo chose to play the risk reward like cautiously, and in these next games he starts turning up the defense. And at first Mena doesn't adapt to it because he's like, oh, Daigo's trying to get in my head and deter me from my offense, right? Here's another level 2. But one of the features of Daigo is that he's very stubborn. And again, he sort of plays with risk reward in a way that befuddles top level players. That's like one of his strengths. Yeah, punish there. Anyway, what I was starting to say about level 2 before I got distracted by the notes is that the characters that have install level 2s are particularly privileged because while level 3 is kind of the comeback feature of this game, it's such high damage unscaled. Having an install level 2 means you get access to your win condition more frequently, and you can do things like do level 1s to kill without worrying about not having level 3 later, or you can rip a level 2 even in a perhaps losing situation, and if the round doesn't go your way, you'll still get another level 2 in the future. It's just meter build is such that it's less risky to spend meter as a level 2 haver. Notice what Mena does here. He does the drive rush raw overhead, and then he taps perfect parry. That's a very Street Fighter 6 thing to do, right? He's like, okay, I whiffed. Daigo's going to punish me for it. Let me try and punish him with the parry. But Daigo's not in the business of whiff punishing, so he's already demon flipped. Catches him low. Doesn't convert into Tatsu. Would have been better to convert into Tatsu there. No DP from Daigo. Gets to level 2 here. Can't remember if he goes for the safe jump. Yeah, he does. Okay. Yeah. And then gets the read. So now you notice Daigo was doing the dive kick earlier, and now he's not. But undeterred is Mena from stand heavy kick. There's that same fishing with back medium kick I was talking about earlier. It's very active. It'll catch people walking forward. And it's hard to whiff punish because it's just an odd button at an awkward angle. This button right here, stand heavy kick, that he does, this is another fishing button because it's so active. And it's really like hard to whiff punish. If you try to go for sweep and stuff, he'll often just whiff punish you right back because the recovery is so short and his hurt box is so retracted in the move. Okay, Daigo gets him in the corner, level 2 again. Again, +0 there, takes the throw. Some discipline on Mena not doing 5 heavy kick there. Okay, there's another overhead. That's never going to catch Mena, I don't think. A player of his caliber is just not going to get hit by stuff like that. They are reactable. The buffering here is to prevent him from just getting slid on the slip and slide. Daigo also has the patience of an old Street Fighter player. This is the one that goes down to the wire like last few seconds. I think so. For people who don't know, the various random whiffed normals during these fireball chains are to try and fake a fireball, give him something to twitch react to, and then if he slides, obviously it's a punish. Yep. Very, very patient from Daigo. Decided he was going to win with fireballs. He had the life lead enough to do it, and that's what he did. Scary because obviously, any jump or slide would be an end to him. Blanka slip and slide's a pretty gnarly move. Yeah, but both of these players are pretty stubborn. They're not going to be deterred. I think one of the skill sets of really high level players, you see this with Blaz too, is that when an interaction happens, that they don't ruminate on it. I mean, it's data, they collect that data, but they're ready for the next interaction. They're just ready to go. Okay, here's Lightning Beast again. So here's the situation where he walks up and then he hits him with a crouch medium punch, cancels here. This is plus Lightning Beast. This is all plus. Okay, this is Daigo's first opportunity to guess. And he guesses, and he gets it right. Now, he could have killed here, and the commentators mentioned that. Drive rush into another heavy kick or forward fierce crouch heavy punch would have gotten the kill here, and he doesn't. So a mistake from Daigo. He goes for the parry again, but Mena goes down. He goes for the parry again. Notice that's just Daigo. That's Daigo's stubbornness. I will do it 3 times, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna let previous things interface with my decision making. I've already decided what I'm gonna do. So in previous rounds where Daigo refused to take action on defense, especially in level 2, now he's just gambling. Parry 3 times, reversal, all that stuff. The problem is that with level 2, as I said earlier, if you actually try to interface with it or interact with it, the risk reward is so skewed in Blanka's favor that as soon as Mena, nice reaction there. Actually, that is a reaction, I think. As soon as Mena recognizes, this is incredible, confirmed by Daigo here. That's what's happening. He's just like, okay, we're playing the risk reward game. Let me just, play it. Really good jumps from Daigo. Daigo escapes the corner often in this set. Good. He gets the win here. Which is no easy feat. So it's obvious that he practiced getting out of the corner and dealing with Lightning Beast and Blanka-chan in the corner. So everybody's turned up. Daigo's tied it up 5-5. Doing better than a lot of people thought he would do. I think in some ways this huge production takes away from the competitive nature of it. But this is what Street Fighter's like these days. You need all these sponsors, including sponsors that we're not thrilled about with some ethical problems. And in that context, for me, it's like, well, if the trade-off is you got to have some questionable ethics with regards to your sponsors, then I would trade the studio lights and the big studio away. I would just go back to the grassroots personally, but make those decisions. So there's another opportunity for a missed whiff punish. You do crouch medium kick here, and then he's in the corner. But that's not the game Daigo came to play. That's I was talking about that earlier, the random H adamant flame, and it's a big punish counter combo. He could have killed him there. Could have spent bar and killed him, but he didn't. But he gets in here. So that I would have spent bar. You don't want to risk it. So we've established enough layers in the jump game with jump fireball and jump dive kick that Daigo can just jump at him now. And despite having a really high return on standing heavy kick, and of course that's a pretty easy anti-air to land, we see Mena respecting the Akuma jumps at the ranges where those things are scary. He just blocks it. And that's the right call from Mena, because if Daigo does jump heavy kick like that, then what ends up happening is he's too far away to threaten a throw or any kind of further mix-up. So you just stand up and block it and you're chilling. Daigo has survived another Lightning Beast with minimal damage, but that's kind of what I was saying, that there's always going to be damage. It's just how much can you mitigate the damage. This time he goes for the heavy kick, and as you can see, that's the risk reward I was talking about. The trade is huge. He gets Oki, right? And that's the kill. So this is when Mena is like, okay, I'm not gonna be bullied by your, this is when Mena kind of starts shifting it back in his favor. I'm not going to be deterred from just playing regular old risk reward, right? Like if you want to gamble in big ways that don't make sense in terms of risk reward, I'll just play safe and calculated risk reward, and I should come out on top. And that is indeed what happens. Throw loops mid-screen. Daigo blocks the crouch medium kick this time. Yep, so Daigo shifted up to the The dive kick there, Mena doesn't bite. Gets the confirm. I think he does a third dive kick right here, if memory serves. Never going to get him with the overhead. That's plus. Yep, there's the third dive kick. Mena tries for the perfect parry there. He's not timed to react with heavy kick if you're looking for the dive kick, but you can see the dive kick and react with parry, and so that's what he did. Okay, wait, let me go back and see how the lightning beast activated. Yeah, he went for a throw here. So it's plus, there's the lightning beast. Boom. Went for a throw tech. So again, he's not just going to block the lightning beast. He's going to do something. And if Mena just keeps everything tight, then it'll blow up whatever Daigo does. So that's what happened here. And of course, he allows him to side switch, and then that's that. Perfect parry is one of the reasons that Fireball game is hard to play, because you can just fish for those perfect parries fairly risklessly. Akuma's teleport command grab is just not strong enough, not fast enough to catch a player of Mena's caliber. So there's really no, and you know, you don't have a Hasho to fake it with either. But players of the caliber of Mena and Ending Walker and those kinds of players who are, you know, as strong as they are, they're actually reacting to the fireball. You're not going to be able to fake it easily. And without an opportunity or an option to fake it, there's no safe way to throw fireballs without them just fishing for the perfect parry OS. Nice overhead attempt. Got him low. That's the move speed. So Daigo, previously when he had a life lead like that, he used fireballs to close it out. And in this one, rather than risk that, he decided to use his movement speed. First went for the overhead, then the crouching medium kick. Burnout. Wait, what happens here? Yeah, crazy jump fierce. Jump forward is a crazy option there. Lightning Beast. First guess goes for parry. Second guess goes for parry. Third guess, DP. So you notice that, you know, Mena wasn't able to punish the parries, but obviously the parries didn't help Daigo get out of the situation. Really, they just slowed the harm. It's, you know, with level 2, it's harm reduction strategies. Doesn't react to the perfect parry, just goes low. And see, this is what I was talking about earlier. He can blow a level 1 here because he'll still get a level 2 in a third round if he wins this round. Yeah, which he does. Obviously, he does win this round too. Daigo's winning has concluded by this point in the set. It's just so unorthodox to go for the sweep that Mena's not ready. Here's another perfect parry drive rush. Obviously, the damage is super scaled, but the reward is this, the Blanka-chan mix, all the way to the corner. You know? And obviously, fireballs have always been risky because your opponent could jump. But jumps were bigger commitments, and there's a smaller gap for their success, you know, when someone has good fireball traps and can keep things tight. Whereas in this game, the perfect parry is riskless. You know, you're not going to get DP'd into Oki for Daigo doing a perfect parry. Of course, the slide has caught him a lot. That's another option that Blanka has. And at the beginning of the set, Daigo had sort of shown a willingness to be further spaced, but that willingness has evaporated. Gets the perfect parry, sweep, side switch. Akuma does not have a side switch combo. That's great. We don't see the charge fireball come into play much in the set. We saw it there, but I think Daigo is concerned that there's another missed opportunity here. It's just fierce, you know. Fierce would have done it. Good, he gets the whiff punish that time. Reversal. Slide. Same thing, perfect parry, drive rush jab. Gets Oki off of it. Doesn't matter that the damage is super scaled. Again, I think that this matchup favors Akuma in a lot of ways. Akuma has the move speed and the fireballs to play around it. I'd give it like 5.5 Akuma favored personally. If you exclude level 2. Once level 2 is introduced, it's even or bad. That's counting the perfect parry stuff. That's counting the slide. Of all the Shotos, in many ways, outside of maybe Terry, his fireball can't be slid on because it travels along the ground. Akuma fights Blanka pretty well, in my opinion. Kusanagi tweeted that he thought Daigo would have won with any other character, any other Shoto, like Ryu or Sagat or whatever. These kinds of hypotheticals are impossible to entertain. But I think Daigo believes in the matchup, and I believe in the matchup too. I would have played Akuma. Akuma can win this. Daigo could have won this. I don't know why he doesn't go for the heavy Tatsu there. It opens up this opportunity. Back throw would have been better, but it's just chaos. So Daigo obviously really studied all the flummoxing. I wonder if he could have killed with light Tatsu into heavy Tatsu there. Daigo does really well in the kind of scrambly Blanka situations. He obviously prepared for those quite a bit. The problem is that in the second half of the match, once layers 1 and 2 have been discarded for this third layer, and really honestly the third layer is just kind of the first layer in some ways, the risk reward is just hard for Daigo in the way that Mena is approaching it. And so, given enough games, without some luck, Daigo's just going to lose. Okay, now Daigo shifted back to blocking. He blocks again. See a third block. Yeah. Daigo makes decisions, and then he sticks to those decisions. Which is unorthodox. If you play ranked, most humans will let you throw them twice, and then that's it. They're done being thrown. They're going to do something. Like twice is it. 3 is like a significant number in like human pattern recognition and psychology, in my experience playing fighting games. And so Daigo, with his many, many years of experience, either lacks that human instinct or is aware of it and has intentionally kind of gotten himself around it. He's not going to guess based on previous interactions. He's going to guess anew based on his sense of the opponent and risk reward. That's an opportunity where, no punish there, it sucks. That's an opportunity where he could have cross-cut. That's the move speed against Blanka lets him play around Rainbow Ball effectively. In fact, that's one of the reasons I think Akuma does well in the matchup compared to some of the other Shotos. He's just so fast that he doesn't have to deal with Rainbow Ball in the same way, kind of get under it. Okay, we're in harm reduction mode because level 2 is out. We're close here. Is he going to try to play the fireball game to win? Goes for an overhead. I think maybe that the drive rush ate Daigo's input there, because I don't know why he would go for that overhead. Mena's perfect parry rate on these fireballs has gotten absurd. That's the active frames I was talking about. Look at how late he does this heavy kick. Boosh. And he gets it. He gets the world off of that anti-air. It's one of the strongest features of Blanka. In fact, that's another thing. Akuma has some things which can beat that anti-air, which many characters lack. That's another strength for Akuma in the matchup. But so strong is stand heavy kick that even with all of the air options that Akuma has, it's difficult for Akuma to jump at Blanka, who traditionally has been jump-atable if he doesn't have a charge. Double perfect parry in a row. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when when fireballs simply are not? They don't do anything. They don't do any damage. They don't do any burn damage. They don't deter his forward movement at all. You could throw slower fireballs, but Daigo's doing that. He's mixing up his fireball speeds. He's throwing random buttons. Mena is just able to react to the fireball, the travel speed of the fireball, because it's a 2-frame window. You press it late. Here comes Lightning Beast. Blanka Chan. Again, playing the risk reward, just playing slow. Let Daigo DP, whatever. He's winning. He's got him in the corner. Daigo gets out of the corner again, which I mentioned earlier. He's good at doing. Yep. Daigo playing at a closer range now, so the heavy buttons are on the table for Mena, and we see him representing those and crouch medium punch. It's like we're back to round one, right? Like the very beginning when these Mena was sort of whiffing these buttons at this range. Very slight shimmy there, and then committed to the block. Undeterred, got to throw fireballs, Akuma. Early heavy kick there. DP, good. The casters talked about doing DP level 3 here. The difficulty with that is that actually I think he would have had to delay the DP a little, like a frame or two more, to get it into the cancel window, or do heavy DP level 3. DP level 3 is tough in this game for whatever reason, and it's tough on leverless, I think. So there's a sort of running theory that some of the weaknesses or difficulties of leverless controllers have inhibited the success of people like Daigo and Tokido. Like they had better anti-airs when they were playing on stick, and better supers and all that sort of stuff. I think that that's probably true. I think that the advantage that leverless confers is in movement, and in Street Fighter V and in Street Fighter VI, the ability to walk forward and turn around on a single frame is so powerful that the loss of consistency in some of these other areas is worth the exchange. And once you've played leverless for a while, going back to stick, you really feel it. You're so slow. You're just so slow. Even if all of your motions are really clean and your DPs are really crisp, it's just really hard to play neutral. You can even watch players. Like if you go back and you watch Street Fighter V games from before the big Japanese transition to leverless, you just see, could have gotten a much better punish there. You just see, and people talked about it at the time because the tournament scene was active. Like there's old recordings of Punk and Phenom and stuff talking about playing the Japanese players before and after the leverless switch, and how different their movement and stuff was. Like you can just tell immediately when someone's playing pad or leverless by the way that they move. And then if you see someone playing stick, it's a dying breed, stick players. It's not because of, I think that the significance of leverless is not because of the various SOCD tricks. It's the movement. Movement is the strongest feature of leverless. Fast dashes, fast forward and backwards movements on single frames, being able to walk forward and get to down back to block in a single frame. Whereas on stick, it's like 3 frames at best often. And that's like you really being fast about it. And you see it reflected. I mean, like if you watch Angry Bird. Like Angry Bird's another Akuma player, so this is a good person to watch. He still plays on stick. And if you watch the way he plays, he doesn't move around very much. He just holds down back and uses motions and uses special moves to kind of move around. Like he's a very stationary kind of Akuma player. And obviously he has success with it. It's not the style that I approach. And I for me, one of Akuma's strengths is the move speed. A lot of jump fireball here. And again, Mena's just playing it cool. None of this stuff is threatening. He just needs one opening. Blanka ball happened to have charge there. Kind of faked like he didn't have charge. Let's see why. So the reason that Daigo thinks he doesn't have charge here, I believe, is that the parry makes him look like he's standing. He's not. He's still holding down back during this parry. So Daigo sees that he's standing up, or saw that he thought he moved back for a second. So, okay, he doesn't have charge. Let me jump. But he did have charge. Tracking the opponent's charge is an important part of fighting against charge characters. And the parry can kind of disguise the charge. I think it's clear in this set that Daigo came in with preparation and he had some ideas, and I think he made some clever adaptations. But um, at the end of the day, the mistakes over the course of the thing cost him. Mena is too, Mena's, if you look at like Mena's stat star sheet or whatever, he's capped out everywhere. He's just not going to make mistakes. And he's too crisp at the various Street Fighter 6 mechanics, the perfect parry on the fireballs, the conversions out of drive rush, understanding the risk reward of everything, right? Daigo is the one who has to take risks, and obviously he's a low health character. And see, even that was a mistake. That's minus enough that it could have been punishable, but Mena missed it. But then he gets it afterwards. It's just, I think it's just tough. I think Daigo, to be honest, I think he kind of ran out of layers. And in the last 6 games or so, they were just playing regular old risk reward with Mena playing pretty safe, and Daigo has to take risks, and that's how it played out, right? So long as Mena keeps it tight, fishes with the perfect parry, he'll come out on top, and that's exactly what he did. So if I was to coach Daigo, or if I was to give advice to players looking to learn the matchup from this, I think Daigo's big mistake is that none of his layers involved playing footsies with Mena. I do think that Akuma can play footsies with Blanka. You have to be able to move in and out of those ranges, get him to press the buttons that he's pressing and look to whiff punish them, the crouching heavy punch, the various heavy buttons. Use your fireballs obviously as a poke at close range. You can't really zone him out consistently because the perfect parry, because the slide and all that sort of stuff. So use your fireballs as a poke in combination with your move speed to kind of entice buttons and then get the party started that way. That would be my advice. But obviously I'm not the caliber of these players. And I'm sure that Daigo plays like very, very strong Blanka players. There are very strong Blanka players in Japan, none as strong as Mena. So in the end, the match went the way that I think everybody expected it to go. Daigo said at the beginning that he thinks Mena is probably the strongest Street Fighter player there's ever been, and that's probably true, and certainly true for modern games. The nature of the game is different, right? What would have been in previous eras, there was knowledge gaps, right? Like it took people in a first to 10, somebody might like Daigo or Momochi or somebody might show up with something that you've actually never seen, because the spread of information is not that fast, and the solving of the game doesn't really occur with the same like level and the same huge number of the player base. But that's just not true anymore. I mean, things are understood. The game is solvable. The game is designed solved. In order to achieve balance, the game designers are very deliberate in the way that they implement moves and stuff like that. There's nothing to know. And so in previous first to tens, you might show up and your opponent would do something you've never seen, and it takes you 2 or 3 games to like figure out live how to deal with it. And Daigo's really good at that too, because Daigo may not figure out the right solution, but he'll start adapting in such a way, playing in such a way that he avoids the situations in which that circumstance emerges. And that's an old school kind of skill set that I don't think is really developed very much in modern fighting games, where you just sort of go for risk reward and sort of play the system. So that's what we see here. I think a reflection of a couple things. I think, Daigo's older and he's got his approach is an old school way. Now, he was very successful in Street Fighter V. I don't want to besmirch Street Fighter 6. I think it's both. I think it's a combination of Daigo being of an older generation and having a different approach to the game, and this game not necessarily suiting his strength, and Mena's just a monster at modern Street Fighter. So Mena played very, very well. I can't name very many mistakes. He obviously recognized what Daigo was doing and adapted to it strongly. So Daigo did better than a lot of people anticipated, but I think there wasn't a world, looking at this now and looking at the caliber and what it is that Daigo brought to the table, I just don't think there was a world where Daigo comes out on top against Mena. So anyway, I don't know. These are my thoughts, my kind of rambling thoughts, and hopefully people kind of got something out of my discussion of the matchup or enjoyed listening to it. I'll go ahead and post this and let me know what you think of this kind of thing. If you like this kind of stuff, maybe I'll do shorter form content, more reviews of high-level Street Fighter matches.